Hi, I'd like to talk a few minutes about water filtration when you are out hiking. This is important because it helps you know what to expect when you're out on trail and to know how you can be prepared for whatever you face when it comes to filtering water. There are several different ways you can handle water filtration, and it's really basic. First of all, you can boil your water, you can treat your water, you can filter your water, you can use bottled water, or you can drink it raw, untreated, unfiltered. We'll talk about each of these and break them down so that we don't leave any stone unturned when it comes to water. One of the surprises that I had on trail is even in the Appalachian Trail late summer, most places that I traveled had an abundant source of water, whether it was a small trickling stream or a roaring river. It seemed that I was never more than about 4 miles away from a good water source. That may have been a pond in Maine, or it may have been a river in New Hampshire, or just a creek trickling down the side of a mountain. It seems like wherever I went, there was an abundant source of water. But treating that water or making that water fit for you to drink is important. Nothing will derail you off the trail quicker than for you to have the runs or to get an infection from water that's not been treated because upstream somewhere the water has a contamination source. Some people boil their water. I did this several times when I was on trail where I collected water that had not been treated in any way. I just let it settle out in a bottle overnight, and then in the morning, knowing that I was going to make oatmeal or ramen noodles, I just boiled that water knowing, hey, I boiled it for a certain amount of time and that water is safe for me to drink. You can use a stove or you can boil water on an open fire. I tried both. Using your stove is a lot faster, like a jet boil stove, than trying to boil it over an open fire. Some folks treat their water. I'll be honest, I only met one person out of several hundred people that I met on trail that were treating their water using some kind of a tablet where you collect your water in your water bottle, then you put a treatment tablet in. Most of the time, the downside to it is you can't drink that water immediately. You have to let that water sit. The tablets that I took to trail, you would have to let that sit for 4 hours. 4 hours simply because the tablets that I took would treat more effectively some tougher types of virus or bacteria in the water. Cryptosporidium is a big one. So look on your tablets or droplets to make sure that Cryptosporidium is one of the things that can be treated. And be cautioned, if you just take a little bottle of chlorine and just put a little chlorine inside your water bottle, chlorine in and of itself does not kill Cryptosporidium cyst. That's an important thought. Some folks, most folks, treat their water using some kind of a filter system. I took a Be-Free squeezable bottle that worked very well for me. It's fast. A lot of folks on trail were using a Sawyer. I chose not to do that because I'm really short. And here's what I observed. They would take the Sawyer, which is about that long, and then they would connect that a lot of times to some kind of a bottle, like a 1 liter bottle. So they're threading that on. Now we're this tall. And then a lot of times they would gravity feed it using a 2 or 3 liter bag. So now you're here. By the time it was all done, if the filter was starting to slow down, it just seemed to me to be too long and cumbersome to hold that bottle with my knees and kind of squeeze and roll. And so I chose to use the Be-Free. And the reason I chose the Be-Free also is many of the outlets along the way, some of the stores, they carry the cartridges as they do for the Sawyer. The benefit with the Sawyer is you can back flush it very easily and it threads right onto your drinking water bottle and you can fill your bottle and drink it direct, but so does the Be-Free. Some folks attempt at times to carry bottled water, like they'll fill it up at a stop somewhere, but we know that long-term for hiking, carrying bottled water is not going to be the thing because you're going to end up packing a lot of weight and it's going to wear you out. When I go on short hikes, I just throw in a couple bottles of water. But in time, you have the plastics to deal with as far as your trash, and you're always counting on finding a good potable source of water. I observed some folks on trail, they did not filter their water. I met several people in the White Mountains National Forest. We're talking they've hiked almost 1,900 miles and did not filter any of their water. That may work for them, but I do not recommend it. And it may be along the way they must have dealt with some issues with not filtering your water, and they just drink raw water. And that's a choice you can. I learned my lesson the hard way through a hiking adventure that went bad a few days later, that I always, even when I was at the different AMC huts, I always filtered the water that I had available to me just to be safe. You never know if somebody else touched the faucet and maybe their hands weren't as clean as you'd like them to be. So I chose to filter my water. Don't be intimidated when it comes to choices on water filters. Do what works for you. Some individuals use a filtering system, and I looked at one. It was over a pound and decided that that was not for me. Using something that I could double both as a drinking bottle and a filter seemed to work the best. It was very portable, very collapsible. The downside to the Be Freeze is you really have to watch to make sure the silicone bag does not get holes poked in it. Hey, I hope this information helps. Hope to see you out on the trail next time. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you hit that subscribe button, and we'll continue to talk all things hiking.